You can go in on this side and go pull it, and it makes it go over the edge of the fabric like that. The only problem with that is you do get quite a bit of gaps unless you really go close together. And then the last method that you can do, all of them are fine, is you can just go forward. And so just take a little, and you just kind of weave it back and forth until you get some in there, and then you push it through. And now I've sewn there. Once again, 3 methods. You could just weave back and forth, or you could go in there, out a little bit, in there, out a little bit. So I went in where my last thread was, and then I just go a little bit further, and then I put it back in, and I go back to where the thread is and go a little bit further. If when you're finished sewing and you turn it inside out, you can see a whole bunch of uneven threads like that, you just go back and sew it again. If you sew it a couple times, when you turn it inside out, you won't see all of those threads. And the tighter you pull this, then the less threads you're going to see. So at this point, I've sewn this one all the way around the outside edge. So I've got my edge sewn all the way from the nose to the tail, just like I said. And so here it is, the other side. I've sewn all the way along the edge. Okay. Now on this one, I have attached the belly part. I'm going to undo it and show you how to do that. Now this is the inside of the mole that I'm going to show you here in a second. This is going to be the inside. Right now it's the outside. So I've got this. Eventually I'm going to turn it inside out, and then I'll have the outside, but I'm not to that point yet. So here's what I'm going to do next. You take this piece that you had, which was the inside of your mole, and you line it up. So that's the nose, that pointy part right there, and this is the nose, that pointy part right there. And you are going to put some pins to stitch this in to hold it in place. So I would use a couple pins here and there to keep it straight while I'm doing it, because I want it to be nice and flat and level. So I'm just pinning around the outside edge. Turn it around. Now I'm going to pin this side all around the outside edge. This is the place where if I wanted to add feet, I could do that. I'm going to show you how to do that. You don't have to. They're optional. You don't have to have feet on your mole. Right now all I'm doing is pinning this onto the belly of my mole. I've already written on it, or if you don't want to write on it yet, you can write on it after. I've cut out the little feet that it told me to cut out, and this is where I would be putting them on the inside at this point. So this is the mark that lets me know that that's where a foot's supposed to go, and it goes on the inside. So I put the foot on the inside. You won't even see the foot until I turn it inside out. Put the foot on the inside, and now I have a sandwich of 3 layers. The back sides of the mole, the feet piece that was the foot, and then the belly part all together. And I'm going to pin that together so it doesn't fall apart while I'm sewing it. The next one, I've got a foot. There's 4 feet places. So I take the foot. This is the other spot that's marked where the foot's supposed to go. It was a double triangle. You put it in there. and you sandwich it back up, and you pin it secure. Now when you sew the belly part on, you don't sew it all the way around because you're going to have to stuff it. So I leave an area over here on the side that I'm going to leave open, and then I will stuff the fluff into the inside of the mole. You could stuff it with actually quite a bit of things. It doesn't have to be that actual polyfiber fill. So same deal. You take needle and thread. I've got a knot tied in the end over here. You take it, and because I want to leave this piece open, I put the other two legs in there, but I didn't show you me doing that. I'm going to leave this piece open, so I'm starting here. I'm going to stitch all the way around and come back to that same spot over here. I'm leaving this piece open so I can stuff it, and so I can turn it inside out. Sometimes your needle will get stuck like that, the thread. Just pull whichever thread lets you straighten it out. But you sew all the way around the outside edge of the mole. Once you've sewn all the way around the outside edge of the mole, and it's all sewed, then you would turn it inside out. I'm not going to be doing the greatest job on this. It's just going to tack it into place so I can show you the turning out, inside out process. If I were really sewing this, I would be taking my time, and I would also make sure that I wouldn't leave any gaps. This is going to have loads of gaps because I'm just hastily going around it so I can show you the next step. So completely sew all the way around the outside edge. I'm just quickly sewing it. Same methods that I showed you before. Either the go in and out on, go around the side, whichever method you choose, it doesn't matter. They all get the same amount of credit. If you know how to use a sewing machine, there's no penalty if you are the one sewing it. So if you don't know how to use a sewing machine, but you're going somewhere for Thanksgiving that they have a sewing machine and they're willing to show you how to use it, it's a good time to learn how to use it. You'll be going away to college soon and be on your own soon, so knowing how to sew something up is important. I already have this next needle and thread ready to go. Won't kill you to learn how to sew something up. Alright, once you've sewn all the way around the outside edge, you're going to turn this inside out. To do that, I'm just getting all the way to the spot where I told you I was gonna. I gotta tie off my needle. To tie it off, you take your thread, you take your needle and you put it through, and then you get the knot right there, you hold your finger on it and you pull the thread until it makes a knot in that spot. If it doesn't work on that first try, you can do that as many times, looping it until you get a knot right along the edge there. Now, it's all sewn on the outside, and it's all sewn on the outside around here. Then you take the spot where you left it open, and you turn it inside out. Just like turning a sock inside out. Be careful that you don't break your knot that you made on that last one, so maybe make 2 or 3 knots. Push the little feet all the way out. So I told you it was going to have big gaps in it, and it does, because I didn't really do a great sew job on that part. However, there I go. I sewed this up top part several times. So there's only a few places where the thread's showing. So then you've got your thing inside out, and you take your fill, and if you haven't made any writing on it, you're going to want this to be really firm, so stuff a lot of stuff in there. You don't have to use polyfiber fill. I've stuffed it with the clean lint out of my dryer before. Like, do a couple loads of towels and you'll get enough lint. I've stuffed it with the old fabric, like the leftover fabric. Then it gets to this point where I'm stuffed, and I'm ready to sew this gap closed. To do that, you pull it tight. Now, if you're not concerned about how it looks, you could just sew on the outside of that and have a gap. But I want it to be with the seams on the inside. So I'm going to pull it, and I'm going to put the two seams together, and then I'm going to push it in a little bit. And when I push it in, I'm going to put a pin in that to keep it shut. And I just keep doing that. Push the two seams together, and I put a pin in it. And one more time. You don't want to push too far in, because you want to have plenty of room for writing on the outside, so only push in the right amount of seam. Okay, so now I've got that all pinned shut. I take my needle and thread again. I go inside of the seam, between the two colors there, and come out of there really close to the edge. I don't want that extra thread showing, so I'm going to cut it really close to the knot. And then you just sew over the edge and over the edge. I'm just sewing up and over the edge each time. I'm just putting the needle through the two pieces of fabric. This is the white bottom piece, and then the brown top piece, and sewing it shut. The smaller of an opening that you can leave to do the turning inside out and stuffing, the better, because then you don't have a big area where you show that you've hand stitched. Once you've stitched that opening shut, you can go back and take the pin out, and you hardly notice where you've sewn that shut. So once again, I take this, I've got it pinched together, the two pieces, the white piece and the brown piece, and I'm just taking my needle, going through each of them, pulling it up, and going back again. So I'll finish that up. If I haven't written on it yet, then all I have to do is I take a Sharpie marker, and I could write the information that I need on the belly of this mole by taking my pen and writing what I'm allowed to have. Remember, you're only allowed to have 3 different things: the mole map, the box, and the stoichiometry problem. And I recommend that you make your stoichiometry problem be this long area, that you make the mole map up here where you use the 2 hands and the face area as your mole map, and that you make the box down here in the bottom end. But that is basically the process to sew yourself a mole.